everyone. This is BA Leadership Talks, and we are today with Laura Brandenburg. We're talking here with the most famous thought leaders in business analysis. We learn from the leaders of business analysis. We learn of their experience, their wisdom, their successful careers. And our guest today is an extremely great lady. She particularly did a lot for myself. I was very happy when I started my career. First, what I Googled was her blog, Bridging the Gap. I learned everything. All my beginner steps were based on this blog. It was a lot of useful articles, useful templates, and concept how a business analyst should think about their profession. So now your blog is also the same useful. It's very nice. It's more full of very useful resources. You even have your own entry-level certification, and this is great. So you do great job for early career business analyst. I really appreciate every effort that you do and your dedication to your blog and to serving business analysts. And as many of our guests in this BA Leadership series, you are a person who was also volunteering to the International Institute of Business Analysis. Can you please share with me and our followers what did motivate you to become a volunteer? Why did you do it?
Yeah, well, it's just, first of all, thank you so much for that warm introduction. And it is so amazing to be here today and be able to share, resources with your community. And when I think back about when I got involved with IIBA, I had left my full-time employment and was just starting Bridging the Gap. At that time, I was looking to be more of a consultant. Of course, it's morphed very much into a training and certification company. Like that's what we're focused on today. But I was, very selfishly looking to build my network. And I had learned about IIBA a few years before, but I didn't really have time to get involved in the role that I was in full time. And so I felt like I had time to both give back, but also I wanted to be meeting with people and getting involved in the profession and learning more about what was going on. And I was attending webinars. I was involved at our local chapter level. At that time, I was in Denver. But I attended a webinar with Kathleen Barrett, who was the president at the time. And she mentioned this need for a career center product manager. And it was just so serendipitous because my full-time job role had been working on an online job board. So I felt like I knew the domain, I knew the space. I had a lot of experience, and she at that time, you just email her personally, and I was like, "This is what I could bring to the table," and she's like, "Great, it's yours." So that was really, that was the motivator, was really just to have an opportunity to contribute, but also that created so many opportunities for me to then I started hosting webinars with IIBA and did a monthly Q&A. So it also helped me get Bridging the Gap off the ground from a visibility perspective.
It's wonderful, wonderful stories. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your motivation, because it's really helpful for every entry-level senior business analyst who is interested in expanding their network, having more connections, and have more benefits for their own separate, not working projects when they want to something separate. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. All right, let's talk more about Bridging the Gap. This is extremely nice project. I love it so much. I recommend it to everyone, especially entry-level business analysts. So working with entry-level business analysts for so long, what the most difficulties, what are the challenges that they face? Can you identify what makes them struggle?
Yeah, I think the most common first challenge is this idea that I don't have experience, right? So there's very few quote unquote entry level business analyst jobs. And so employers are typically looking for experience, and we get that, what comes first, the business analyst or the business analyst experience, right? And so part of the process that we help people walk through is both gaining experience, even if they're not in a business analyst role, but also looking back over their career and identifying areas of transferable experience that they can pull forward, so they're not representing, because most often as a mid-level professional with some experience, you're really going to be overqualified for an entry-level role, but then feel like you're underqualified for a mid-level role. But really, you've got to take that leap forward and qualify yourself for that mid-level role. I would say another big area of challenge is like the navigating the confusion of job roles.
Mhm.
So when you like many business analysts like jobs with the business analyst title, you look at the responsibilities aren't actually business analyst roles. And often a business analyst role might be called something else or be included under an umbrella of a product owner or product manager or project manager. And so just helping people navigate like, well, what is this role and what kinds of business analyst roles should I be focusing on in terms of getting into the profession is a really big piece as well.
Yes, I
Yeah.
completely agree. I notice the same challenges, and also when we call them switchers, when people do career in some industry and they switch to business analysis, they still have experience, and sometimes they have years of experience, decades of experience, but they feel like they're empty, blankly paper because they do not have any related experience. And when you investigate a little bit, you found that you did quite a lot. Very similar to business analysis, if not exactly the business analysis job, because it's a job that you can do in any industry, in any domain, and almost in any job and profession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Yeah.
I, and also I like that you said like confusion between description of job responsibilities and naming in different or wrong names the responsibilities of business analysts, or mixing it. Sometimes, it's like a mix between project manager and business analyst, developer and business analyst and product manager or product owner. There is like this mix that confuses people a lot, and you need to be very skilled to identify the difference. And I also noticed that sometimes it happens just because people copy pasted the job description from different positions, and they don't understand because sometimes it's done by HRs and
Mm-hmm.
many entry-level business analysts who review job descriptions. They feel like, oh no, it's not for me. It's for someone who is like 30 years experienced specialist, not for me. But in fact, I always recommend that a person should go deeper and investigate about this particular opening, because it might be just copied from many different areas, and person who copied have no idea what is business analyst is, but they still need this person. They need exactly the person who will do business analysis job.
Yeah, I think that's often why we will see like big technical skills. Like you won't see them in necessarily the job responsibilities, but then they'll show up in the skill set section. And I'm like, they just started with a technical, like their developer job description because, oh, this is a technical role, and like never removed the pieces that were no longer
Yeah.
relevant for a business analyst role. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
reframed it as like awareness of the possibilities of what you can do with all of those coding languages versus the ability to actually code. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we both encourage people to apply even if something wrong
Yeah.
with the job description.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when people get more experienced, or even in the beginning, they are looking for mentors. And in Belarus and in Eastern Europe, it's quite popular to find a mentor who will guide you through your profession. And I was really lucky to find a mentor myself. It was a guy from Austria, really. So I was also mentored, but what about your opinion? How do you think? Is it a good idea to find a mentor? And if so, what can you advise how to find a mentor?
Yeah, I think I also benefited from mentors in my career. My first business analyst role, which the title was systems analyst, so just to the whole role confusion, right? But we were really doing business analysis and a little bit of technical analysis. But I had a senior person on my team who really took me under her wing, and I shadowed her on projects early on, and she allowed me to like draft. First, I was updating her use cases, and then I was drafting them, and she was reviewing them. And so, like by the time I got onto my own big project, I felt very confident in the requirement skills, and then also still had access to her. Right. So that happened organically, and I think it's great when you have somebody senior on your team, and it can happen organically. I think if you're looking for somebody new, often I think one of the best ways to set yourself up is just to have a really clear ask. So like know what you're looking for support in versus like, can you just be my mentor? Right. And like that is like that could feel very overwhelming to somebody, unless they really know, like, okay, let's start with a skills assessment and then let's see where you want to improve your skills. Like maybe your first ask is help me figure out what skills I need to develop, right? If you're really not sure. But it could also be much more specific, like, oh, I'm using use cases for the first time, or I'm doing a relationship diagram for the first time. Can you help me learn how to do this and then review maybe my first couple of drafts? Right. So like it's a very combined ask that I think can set up a relationship and also help somebody be like it really, oh yes, I totally have time for that versus this is going to be something that I don't have a lot of time for.
Yeah.
And I don't know about your experience finding your person in Austria. I'd be interested to hear it. But I also think just looking for somebody who is really willing to mentor, right? And who sees it as a value for them too, because as a mentor, you learn so much and you also build your leadership capabilities. So it's a great way to, yes, you're giving back to somebody else, but you're also learning a lot and growing a lot. So just looking for somebody who has that mindset about it, because they're going to be motivated to be your mentor, to show up in that relationship for you too.
Yeah, and it's really honor to be a mentor. And when I had my mentee, it was a pleasure from one side and a great job from the other side because I need to be prepared. I need to be always ready to answer their questions. I need to be ready to devote some time to their homework, to review, to provide real, like, successful feedback for them because I can't just, be like a teacher at school and say this is wrong. I need to explain. I need to explain why it's wrong, why you need to do differently. So for mentor, it's a great opportunity to grow. It's really a great opportunity. Yeah, and I can share my story how I found a mentor. It was not easy because at the time I was working alone on the project. It was no one in the organization who could help me, no senior staff for this time. And I watched some course. It was a platform, something like Coursera, Udemy. It was Europe platform. I forgot its name, but it was a nice course on business analysis. And I wrote to the author, to the trainer of this training, and asked if I can help serve somehow to make something for him instead. I can ask some questions on the profession, and he replied that yes, we can collaborate, and it was very fruitful because he assigned me on the project. And you know what I did? I did what every business analyst in my circle that time did. I started from functional requirements. Solution requirements and functional requirements. And I prepared a great solution for himself. And he read and provided me feedback like, why didn't you ask me why I need this? Why didn't you ask who will be involved? Why didn't you work with business requirements? Why didn't you work with stakeholder requirements? Why you were so focused on particular solution, even haven't a chance to discuss the solution with me? And for me, it was like not first year in business analysis, but it was like aha moment. Oh, I did something wrong. And
or you had an opportunity to grow, right? Like I think that was so common back in the day to start at that point.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for me to learn, to discover the beauty of business analysis and understand that it's not about just requirements. It's much better. Yeah, thank you for sharing your feedback, how to find a mentor, and thank you for sharing the importance of being a mentor also. So, mentors are always people who have like more experience, a senior position on senior positions, and at the same time, I know that many people face burned out. Like they work hard, they did successful career, but they don't feel the fulfillment. And I think that this kind of mentorship can be very good idea for them, because when you share something, you give in return also a lot of positive things. But anyway, you work also with senior BAs, and how them to be sustainable and successful in their career, how not to considering switching to a different industry, a different job, like being project or product manager, how to continue be in love with business analysis.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that often creates like that feeling of burnout is like as you get to a more senior level, right, you prove yourself, you're able to contribute to just about any project successfully. And so it's natural for within your organization, like people want you on their project and you get pulled into all these different directions and can get really overwhelmed. So I think mentoring others is a big piece, like looking for the people on your team that you can help grow and elevate. And part of what we coach people on is going, like we would call that senior level kind of can be successful anywhere as a superhero, right? So they're a superhero. The next stage from that would be being a champion. So the superhero can be individually successful, but the champion can help others be successful. And so that comes down to like mentoring others, but it also comes down to establishing a framework, right? What is our business analysis approach at this organization? And how can we have a library of templates and techniques and tools and best practices so that people with less experience who don't just have all that internal know-how can succeed as well. And so like becoming a champion is really, it's a big mindset shift of how do I help others be successful versus how do I roll up my sleeves and just get more done? And I think there's also, as part of that, there's a lot of letting go that needs to happen. You have to let go of those less senior activities or the activities that don't benefit from your most valuable skill sets, the work that you don't enjoy so much, and focus on the areas where you can contribute the most impact and where you can also help others contribute the most impact. So it's like an iterative kind of process of taking on more responsibility and letting go of things that really aren't going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the advice. And I really like the idea that people who are very senior can do something in the organization. The place, the center of excellence, the center of practice, where can they put their knowledge and share it with less experienced colleagues and even share it with different departments, with different jobs, and demonstrate how business analysis can bring value to other parts of the organization and to involve more people and make more people aware of benefits. And sometimes even like working in one organization, people even don't know that they have business analysts and that they can benefit from interacting with business analysts. So it's important to share the idea of business analysis, and senior people can do this very successfully. All right. The next step for many seniors are to be certified. Yeah, and certification is something that for like some people really appreciate and follow. Some people will try to avoid, and sometimes they think that there is no value. But I am a person who followed your book when I was in my certification journey, and I found it very useful and beneficial. And I never regret that I was certified, because I found a lot of benefits for myself, starting from enriching my practice, because I learned a lot, and having different job opportunities. I found it successfully and beneficial for myself. But from your opinion, what is the idea of certification and what are the benefits for people to be certified?
Yeah, for me, I got so much value out of the process of getting certified. And in particular, the application process. And I know most people dread the application for the CBAP, and they have made it simpler. I did mine, but 11, 12 years ago now, 11 years ago. And so it was a more laborious process at that point. But like I got a lot out of going back through each of the roles that I'd had and aligning that experience to how it was described in the business analysis body of knowledge. And that gave me a lot of confidence as well, especially as I was looking at what I was going to do with Bridging the Gap and where I wanted to take it and starting to train other business analysts. Like just being really grounded in the extent of the experience that I had. I also discovered, just to our topic on, everybody has the opportunity to do business analysis. I was able to pull out something like 10 or 20% of my quality assurance role and call it business analysis. So I was actually doing process definition and planning and discovery of the test requirements. So I was able to show how I had actually started my business analysis career way earlier. So that to me was a huge benefit. And then I do think that with it as being a thought leader within the profession, it's just the CBAP just is a baseline credential that shows I'm invested in the profession. I have a baseline of knowledge. I don't really know for sure. Like, I've never had anybody say, like, we only reached out to you because you have your CBAP. Although I did get a out. That's kind of funny. I got an outreach today that was particularly about the CBAP and speaking to that. But I'm guessing, even regardless of that, like, it's helped me get speaking opportunities, like BBC, perhaps even part of the reason you reached out here, like, and just be gaining that recognition within the profession. So I do think it gives you a certain visibility and authority and credibility that you know what you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So we both think that it's very beneficial. Like I ask this question from all the interviewees I have because the world is changing very fast and
Yeah.
everything is under transformation. So, how do you think will business analysis as a profession exist in the future, or it will be replaced by something else?
Oh, I think that the business analysis skill set is always going to be valuable, right? I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball of like what the role will be like. But I don't pretend to predict the future in that way. But I I think we get caught up in, well, what is the role going to be, or how is it going to survive through this change? 10 to 15 years ago, when agile practices and methodologies really started to get very popular, and we started to see this pendulum swing where that was more valued than, say, the business analysis role. And the business analysis role was really threatened by that. But like, business analysis practices did not go away. Like, we still had people who were defining requirements and figuring out, getting business stakeholders aligned on what their problems were and what the solution would look like. And what we're seeing now, I think, is the pendulum swing back to a deeper appreciation for business analysis practices and other things that are necessary kind of outside the agile framework. And we might continue to experience that tension as like organizations get really myopically focused on specific opportunities. But I think the appreciation for the business analysis skill set and the necessity of that skill set, like, is not going to go away. It's only going to become more relevant as we have more change, as we have to adapt to how we're going to leverage new technologies in business.
Yes,
Yeah.
business analysis is mindset for me. It's not
Yeah.
a particular job. I
Yeah.
think it will exist forever.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you train like entry-level business analysts, help them to grow, but sometimes people think that, okay, I'm now in the industry, I have some experience, I know some basics, that's enough. How to motivate yourself to learn all the time because the industry is changing anyway. How to be on.
Yeah, to that person, like in that mid-level role, I know, like, you can kind of feel like, oh, I've got this. I do still think that investing in the foundational skills, at least for a round, is super beneficial, because we see light bulbs go off of people who like are self-taught. I'm like, oh, I know how to create a process map, but then like they always seem a little harder than they should be or something, right? And then they go through and they learn best practices. It's like, oh, actually, this is why I was always getting caught up on that piece. So there's a huge benefit to continuing even in foundational skills.
How to be up to date, how to follow the last trends, what to follow, what to read, what to watch, how to be
Yeah.
in this like fast changing trends and follow them because it's like too much of information right now.
Right. Yeah, I think, for me, I keep up to date by really spending some time on LinkedIn every week, reading what people are talking about, joining live streams if there's a topic that really interests me that I want to go deeper, like reading not just the post, but also the conversation on the post, and just to kind of get a gist of what's really resonating with people. And I also keep up to date. We have a monthly instructor meeting. And so, like, both all of our instructors are practicing VAs, and then they're also exposing what our participants are dealing with, right? So I'm getting kind of up to date through those different means. So I think it's just like finding your one or two things that Like it might be a certain newsletter that you subscribe to. It might be a couple of YouTube channels. But you just have to choose the mediums that you're actually going to naturally engage with and receive benefit from, and not like, don't try to be everywhere. Don't try to follow every little thing, but find those channels that really do keep you engaged and interested in, so that you are staying on top of what's happening and what's unfolding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. And I really like the idea that you need to follow the conversation and comments, and you need to follow the problems of other BAs. So it's very
Mhm.
beneficial when you understand what is bothering other people,
Yeah.
because you can try to find the solution.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a question about how to be um, a content creator, because I practiced it
Mm.
myself for a long time. Now I changed the topic. I'm talking more about leadership and leadership for women. But when I started, it was quite challenging. When you write an article, you need to be honest, you need to be trustworthy, you need to follow standards, you need, like, if you're sharing your opinion, you should provide its valuable opinion. So you wrote a lot of articles and probably you received a lot of advice and feedback. So what would you advise for people who want to be authors and content contributors, making some nice content for business analysts?
Yeah, I think it's as similar as like the consumption is like choose your outlet,
Hmm.
right? So really focus on, is it a LinkedIn article series? Is it a blog? Is it a YouTube? Like just choose the outlets that resonate with you and that feel doable for you. And I always, when I'm sitting down to write a piece of content or prepare like for a video, it's like who is going to be listening to this or reading this? What what is going on like in their head, right? What's like what is the benefit? Like what's the problem that they perceive? And then what support do I want to provide for them? So I'm trying to think about what transformation do I want to not make, because you can't make somebody transform, but inspire, like kind of help people along from step, like what's step A and what's step B when they're done consuming that piece of content. And then it's like, well, what do I actually need to teach? And often it's not even just teaching, it's what limiting beliefs do we need to talk about and surface in order to allow the teaching to land, right? So then we're talking about both the emotional side and the practical, tactical side of it. So those are some of the things that I think about when I sit down to create content.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you know that in your answer it was a lot of about business analysis because you need to understand user needs.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you know, like I use business analysis core concept model everywhere, and it helps me to solve so many problems because you need to understand your stakeholders, their needs, their
Mhm.
value that you bring, and then find the right solution. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing this because I know that a lot of people who are trying to start their blogs do some kind of new content and they face these challenges. They don't know how to do it in a more useful, more suitable manner. So your advice is really beneficial.
Mm. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think that I do not have any other topics to discuss with you today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing these ideas and inspiration. And as I told you in the beginning, guys, if you're on the entry or even senior level, I strongly recommend the resources of Laura. Bridging the Gap is a nice tool and a lot of templates, a lot of useful resources, a lot of information that you can benefit. Thank you so much for doing this great job. Thank you for creating this opportunity for us to learn from. And thank you for your time today on BA Leadership Talks.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to speak with you.